Hey there, woohoo! Welcome to our live video right after Christmas. So you may be listening to this at a later date, but anyway, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And it just said, congrats, this is your 25th broadcast. How exciting is that? We've had 25 of these live videos. I wanted to make sure before, as people are hopping on here, that I let you know we've got a series coming up, a 3 weeks in a row series of blog posts coming out, talking about going really in depth in some very key marketing things, and get in anticipation of our course opening up again in about a month. We teach our course twice a year, kind of winter, early spring or late winter, and then fall. So it's a great way to jumpstart your farm, jumpstart your marketing, get some money coming in, etc. Anyway, it's just a wonderful group of people too, because you get to take it every time again and again, over and over for free. So we've got a great group of people. And oh good, we got some people joining us. Anyway, over the next 3 weeks, starting next week, we are going to have some training videos coming out each week. Thank you for the loves. And we're going to do a new training on identifying your ideal customer, which is something I talk about all the time, and there are so many ways to go about it. So I've got another way to help you with that. We're going to talk about I'm going to give you an email template to find out what it is you're really selling to your customers. And then what's the second one we talk about? Oh, yeah. We're going to just go in more depth into email marketing. So that's coming up over the next 3 weeks. Make sure you're signed up on our website to get those emails over at 3countmarketing.com. The first one will come out next Tuesday. All right, today's topic has proven to be very, very popular with all of you, and it's how to prevent burnout on a farm, because I think 100% of us have this problem. I don't know anyone who doesn't have this problem. Maybe if you have like 3 chickens in your backyard, you aren't burnout yet. But if you are trying to start a farm, or if you have a farm, you're probably facing burnout very soon. Boy, in the 12, yeah, Laura, so true. We all are in the same place. You know, it's one of those universal things. We don't all always have the same problems, but I think this is one problem we can all say we have. In the 12 years we've been eating food directly from the farm, the first 5 years before I started my own farm, our own farmers went out of business. I watched 3 raw milk producers go out of business. And the first one, with no warning, he just said, okay, we sold all the cows, their hamburger, you can't get your milk this week. And I said, well, why didn't, he said, we just couldn't make enough money. I said, your milk is $6 a gallon. I would have paid twice that. Why didn't you ask? And he got tears in his eyes because he had no idea that we would have paid. He felt bad asking his customers to pay more. So instead he went out of business. And what happens then is you leave all your customers hanging. And with this kind of food, it's really important. It's not like a clothing store going out of business. This was my children's medicine. 12 years ago, they were suffering from really severe eczema, and raw milk was what made it go away. So I was devastated, and I had to get on a wait list for a new raw milk dairy. Anyway, long story short, 3 of them went out of business, which is why eventually we started our own dairy 7 years ago. So, and burnout happened, of course, right away. So that's the topic today. Since we all face it, and I think you could see by all the comments, the solution to burnout really is time. You need more time, and which comes back to money. You need money to take care of the things that help you avoid burnout. I don't think there's any way around it. You can trade, you can barter a little bit up front when you're really small, but when you get to a certain point, it's really hard to barter with someone to do 8 hours of work on a farm a day for an extended period for you to go on vacation. So it really comes back to the most important thing you need to do is hire some help. And I went the first 4 years on my farm without taking a vacation, and that got me to the point where, a few years ago, I was ready to call it quits and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't go 365 days a year with kids and working and milking and all that. And I had help. I had hired help at that point. But so anyway, I made that vow that we would never go without a vacation at least once a year. So my husband and I try to get away every quarter now, every 3 months. And we've been doing pretty good with that. We even try, which is really hard on a farm, to take Sundays off where we're still on the farm, but we aren't out doing big projects. If there's an emergency, we have to take care of it. But we try not to do farm-related chores on Sunday other than the most basic chores. We finally hired someone to work on Sundays so that we could have Sundays off. Now, that's not really happening quite like I envisioned it. I envisioned us sleeping in, going out to brunch, walking around the mall, or going to a movie. So that does not happen on Sundays. It usually means we're in the office catching up on paperwork or doing our taxes or whatever. But that's our goal, is to have 1 day off a week with no farm work and a vacation every quarter, which we're doing pretty good at. But the reason I can do that is I hired help. And when I started my farm 7 years ago, I realized about 2 months in that there was no way I could do it all alone with 3 kids, and I had 2 milk cows. So the best way for you to hire help is you need money to hire help, because again, volunteer work is temporary. They aren't going to do the kind of work we need them to do to the quality we need them to do for volunteer or for trade for very long. So you really need paid employees. If you're having trouble finding paid employees, you're probably not paying enough. You can't just pay minimum wage. You're asking them, they can go get a minimum wage job at Starbucks or somewhere inside, warm and clean, and not be covered with manure every day. So you need to pay more money probably than you're paying. And the best way, probably the only way for you to come up with that money to pay them, is you have to increase your prices. I talk to hundreds of farmers all the time, and I have never yet talked to a farmer where I said, oh, I think you're charging too much for that product. That doesn't happen, because tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you're not charging enough for your products, right? Your products are not priced where they need to be. So you have to do a price increase. And, so again, hire help to get a break from the farm, but we're working backwards from there. In order to hire that help, you need to have money to do that. You need to pay enough money, and you've got to increase the price of your products. Don't make the mistake that many farmers do, where they increase their milk by 50 cents a jar or something. That's super insignificant. You're not going to have enough money to hire someone if you just do a very small incremental price increase, because then you'll find 6 months later you're still no better off. You have to do another price increase, and you will lose trust and loyalty with your customers if you're constantly increasing the price. So you need to increase the price by 20 to 25% every time. And if you follow all the things I teach in my blog posts and on this Facebook group here, you will have a loyal customer base who will support you in raising your prices. They don't want you to go out of business. So when you have your ideal customer, which we're really going to go in deep to next week on the email, like I said, when you have a group of loyal customers that are your ideal customers and you need to raise the price, they're like, you go girl, I'm going to pay that price increase because I know you deserve it and need it. And I trust that you are pricing your products reasonably, and which is not comparing them to store-bought products. And I need you as my farmer to be around to serve my family and help us get the food we need to be healthy. So therefore, they will support you in raising your prices. Whenever I raise my price, and Sarah, great comment, you just confirmed, yeah, we all are probably priced too low. I can copy questions. Yeah, Laura will copy, or we will copy these questions. So yes, I do very specific things. I don't announce a price increase before. There's no reason to. I announce it. Well, I usually announce it in an email, and I'll answer these questions more thoroughly later. But I usually send an email out that says, it's a very specifically written email. It's relationship building. And it says that as of January 7th, our new milk price is this much, period. Meat prices, I do not announce. The price of our meat, if it needs to go up, it just goes up. And then the next person in the farm store, I just have not found I need to announce meat price increases, but milk price increases I do. And it's just, as of this date, here's the new price. And it's written in a very nice email that builds relationship. When I increase our milk prices, out of 100 milk customers that we have every single week, I might lose one customer. So I just, if you have built a customer base of your ideal customer that are loyal to you and trust you, they won't leave you because of a price increase. Because they have such a deep relationship with you, they trust that you're doing what you need to do. So that's the first main thing, is you've got to hire help. And in order to hire help, you've got to increase your prices. And then the second thing is, a lot of people talked about on the comments to this and the other post about this in the Facebook group, is have very strong boundaries, which means as a woman, this can be difficult because when you first start setting boundaries, you feel like a bitch, right? Don't you feel that way? Hayden's over there laughing at me. But you do. But I can tell you this, it gets easier over time. And it's like, wow, so at first we worry about people thinking we're coming across as a bitch. But trust me, it is the only way that you will be able to take care of your family and your farm, is if you start setting very strong, very clear boundaries with absolutely everybody. So when we first started selling milk, you could stop in our farm store 7 days a week, any time of day. Well, the first few times someone showed up at 11:30 at night to pick up their milk, and I'm racing, wake up wide awake in the middle of the night wondering who's driving in. Then I set some boundaries of, you pick up milk between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. And if someone crossed those boundaries, I had a conversation with them. And that's tough, because these are your friends. There's a way to do it very nicely and just say, hey, in order to preserve my family time and make sure our farm is running as well as possible, I need you to come between the posted hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. I'm sorry, I can't make any allowances outside of that. You don't even need to apologize. You only need to say that once, and people are going to respect those boundaries. Most people do without you having to reinforce it. And if they don't respect your boundaries, and if they think you're a bitch for saying so, they are not your ideal customer, and they need to go somewhere else anyway. So then we had 7 days a week between 8 and 6, and I thought, I need a day in the week where no customers are coming to our house, because our farm store was right next to the house. So then I made no customers on Sundays. Customers could come Monday through Saturday, not on Sunday. And we had some people begging to come on Sundays, and I had to stick to that boundary because I needed a day where I just didn't have 10 or 15 cars driving in my driveway. I just needed that little break. So now 7 years later, are 5 days a week, and we're open 10 to 2, 5 days a week, pretty much. We have evening hours one day, but very, very short, strict boundaries. And guess what? Everyone's able to pick up their milk and eggs and meat within those hours, those very limited hours compared to what they were 7 years ago, 7 days a week. So you can't, people will adjust to your boundaries. Now, those boundaries, it's not just boundaries with your customers, it's boundaries with your employees. For me, it's boundaries with my husband, my children, my parents, everybody. When I am working in my office, my husband can't just come in. I mean, he knows that whatever my 2 hours that day where I'm focused, he knows not to bug me. We've had this conversation that, honey, you just can't come in the office between 10 and 12, because if I'm interrupted, studies show it takes about 20 minutes to refocus your energy, your mind back on whatever it was you were working on. So every time you get a text, an email, a child walks in, the husband walks in, you're taking your 2 hours time that say you had that to focus on whatever project it was, and you're diminishing that almost exponentially. So you have to have very strong boundaries with everybody in your life. You have to learn to say no way more than yes. What I like to do is have 3 or 4 things in my life that I say yes to, and that's it. I say no to everything else. And as women, that's really hard because we're pleasers and we want to help. So when someone says, hey, can you help me out? We're the first ones to jump in and do that. I have now trained myself to automatically say no, and then I can go back and correct myself and say yes. Or I say, let me check with, and I blame it on some outside force, like, oh, let me check with my husband and get back to you. Then I have some time to assess the situation and the request and then go back and say, it's not going to work. I can't take that on. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's something with kids' school or work or farm or a customer, I say no to so many customer requests because when you get hundreds and hundreds of customers and they all want things, that will take over your life too. So say no way more than you say yes. The other thing I need to point out is you need to grow your farm very, very slowly. So I hired 1 employee. We have 7 employees now, 7 years later, but at first I started with 1 employee. You don't want to expect to jump because you've got to have the income to pay for that. So you don't want to expect to jump from, 0 employees to 3, or it's just like you don't want to jump from doing 50 meat chickens to 1,000 meat chickens from one year to the next. You will not, it's very difficult to make that happen successfully on a farm. I don't know of anyone who does. It's better to grow incrementally. So when you grow your farm incrementally, you can grow into these things you need to do to keep your life sane so you don't go out of business within a year or 2. And it's as much for burnout as it is financial reasons, I think, for a lot of people. And one more thing on that. So the way I grew incrementally is I needed help in my office. So 3 or 4 years into my business, I was getting dozens of emails every day and I couldn't keep up with them. And some I didn't need to answer, but some needed answers. So I asked my milker, who was working for me milking, if she could type, and she said yes, and she emailed, she texted, so I knew she knew how to type. She came in the house for 1 hour a day, 3 days a week, and answered basic emails that helped me out tremendously. She knew if someone was asking, a lot of the questions are the same questions over and over. So she would just wash up after milking. She didn't need to shower or anything. Come in, sit down at the computer, pound out responses to 50 emails 3 days a week, and that helped tremendously. And that was 3 hours a week that I paid her, same price as I paid her to milk. And so it was very easy to ease into that. If you need help in the office, you don't have to go out and hire a full-time secretary or even a half-time secretary. You can start out with 1 or 2 or 3 hours a week like I did. And now I have, Hayden is in my office maybe 20 hours a week, right? Yeah, it feels like more, she said. Great. So, but it took me years of 3 hours a week and then 5 hours a week and 10 and then 20 to where we are now. So everything on your farm needs to grow slowly, and you need to make sure you're very successful selling what you currently have before you expand. Otherwise, you won't have money to take care of these things we're talking about to avoid burnout. And the last thing I want to talk about on avoiding burnout is, because all this costs money, is you have to figure out in your business the highest and best use of your time. Because if you're spending time doing activities that aren't the highest and best use of your time, you're going to burn out. Let me give you an example here. This is how I think of it. And I didn't do this till the last couple years. I had this realization. So I want you to write down what you do all day long. Like keep a sheet of paper, and every task you do, write it down. And at the end of the day, you need to assign a value to those tasks. So for instance, if I were milking cows, I'd pay someone $15 an hour to milk cows. So if I milk cows for 2 hours, that's $15 an hour. Then if I come in and if I'm cleaning house, that's $25 an hour. I pay a house cleaner. So that's a $25 an hour job. I have a virtual assistant who helps with some computer things at $50 an hour. And then I send out 2 marketing emails a month, and those marketing emails result in about $12,000 sales a month. So 6,000 every 2 weeks. So that's 5 hours, 20 hours a month I spend on marketing emails, resulting in $12,000 sales a month. That's $600 an hour marketing. So if I'm milking cows, cleaning house, and answering emails, and I run out of time to do marketing that's $600 an hour, there's going to be no money to pay the bills. There's going to be no money to pay the mortgage, the rent on the other farm, no money to buy the new cow, no money to fix the Kubota part, $500 part we need, no money to pay the employees. If I'm not doing that $600 an hour work, no, I can't replace that. I can't go out and hire someone to do my marketing emails. So therefore, my marketing time, the 10 hours, 20 hours I spend on marketing has to be the priority. Then if I have time left over and I want to clean house, I can, but I don't have time, so I hire that done. So you have to figure out what things you can hire done, and the highest and best use of your time, that's what you need to be doing. And the best way I found to do that is keep track of what you do all day and then assign a value to it. And if you're doing menial tasks, you need to find a way to hire those done. For instance, there are so many errands on the farm. It seems like I have to go to the hardware store 2 or 3 times a week for a little thing, like, maybe this little thing broke and I need to go get it. And this little thing broke, and today we need a battery for the generator. That's at another place. And I need to go to Fred Meyer and get some more chemicals, dishwasher detergent for the sanitizer and paper towels. So if I am running to 3 different stores a couple times a week to gather little things, that's a $15 an hour job. And again, if that's taking time away from my $600 an hour job, that's not going to work. So I give my employee the credit card, and on his way home from work, he includes that in his time. He stops off at AutoZone and picks up a new battery, and he stops off at Fred Meyer and gets the chemical, So now I'm paying someone to do my $15 an hour errands. So that's really super important to make sure that you are doing the jobs that are bringing in the most income, and you figure out a way to hire the rest. Did I cover everything? Okay, I think I covered everything. So if you guys have questions on this, now the very specific things people mention, that's going to vary from person to person. If you like yoga and that helps you de-stress, or if you pray and journal and go running or go to the gym, all of those things, you need to find out what you can do to help you cope with the stress of a farm, because there will be stress on a farm. The other thing I do is I have a very strict schedule, rigid but flexible, meaning I have a rigid schedule, and then all the surprises on the farm, it's okay. Those come up, I can deal with them because I have my schedule. I know my other things will get done. Having a schedule for myself really helps. Like 5 a.m., I'm up out of bed in a private room, and that's before my daughter is up. So I'm in there doing I believe in creation before consumption. So before I check email in the day or check Facebook or get on the computer or anything, I have to create. If you start consuming first thing in the day, if you're on your phone, checking email and Facebook and all that, you will never get to the creative part of your brain. You will never, you'll have a much more difficult time activating that and getting your marketing done and solving problems on the farm. So at 5 a.m., I'm doing my creation time before I consume any media. And that means that's going to look different for everybody. But I found that if I miss that hour from 5 to 6 a.m., I am scattered throughout the day and I'm not settled and things throw me off, because on a farm, there's things coming at you all day. But when I have that 5 to 6 a.m. where I and that looks different for everybody. I read something and I journal about it, and that's the first 30 minutes. And the second 30 minutes is what are the 3 things I have to get done today. And, oh, my kitty just joined me. Isn't she cute? You're on TV. My 3 things I have to do today and the things I have to do to make those 3 things happen. And that is my one priority for the day. So when I end my power hour at 6 a.m., I am settled and balanced, and my mind is ready to go, and I'm open to anything, and I'm very focused on the very 3 things that happen that day, or I have to get done that day. And there's 3 things, not 12, because if you have 12, none of them will get done. But if you have 3 and you have the steps to get those 3 things done, they will get done. And then 6 to 8 a.m. is getting breakfast and lunch for my family and husband and getting them delivered to school. 8:30, I meet with my employee and we go over his schedule for the day. 9 to 10, I run and shower and get ready. And from 10 to 2, I'm sitting at my desk marketing or answering emails or, doing interviews, doing whatever it is I need to do for the business. And then by 3 o'clock, I'm done with work so I can pick up my daughter from school and focus on her doing homework or all the things we do. And I kind of save my evening time for reading, where I'm learning new things or, whatever the things are I need to read. So having a very, very strict schedule that you adhere to almost 7 days a week really helps with burnout. And then, like I said at the beginning, we get away every quarter now. That takes money. So you've got to raise your prices, because I don't know of a farmer who is overpriced right now. I don't think I've ever met one. So any other questions on this? Those are the things I do to avoid burnout. And if you don't do it, if you don't do something, I'm a firm believer in vacation, but that's not for everyone. Do you not do any? Oh, Ferna asked, do you not do any of the milking? Is that all hired help? Yes, Ferna. So 7 years ago, I milked all the cows twice a day and, 7 days a week. That's a fast track to burnout. And then, like I said at the beginning, I eased into everything I do. So slowly I hired one person to milk 2 days a week, and I was 5 days a week. And then it was 3 days and I was 4. 3 years ago, I realized that our farm had grown to a point that if I continued $15 an hour jobs like milking, our sales would not happen. I needed to do the $600 an hour job. So I don't do any of the milking anymore. I have 3 people who do that. I'm out there almost every day. I'm still the visionary on the farm. Once a week I visit every spot on the farm and make notes and things that need to be done. But I'm the person who can see all the pieces put together and how they work together and guide the employees to do the right thing. But yeah, 3 years ago I stopped milking, and that's fine. Maybe you need to milk cows. Maybe that is what fulfills you. And yes, it's a $15 an hour job, but you still want to do it 1 day a week or 2 days a week or whatever. But if the big money, the things are getting done to sell your products at the price you need to be sustainable, then that may work for you. Maybe that's your meditation time or something. But, so yeah, I had to get away from milking just because our farm got too big. Laura says, do your kids help and do they like it? That is a good question. And there were lots of comments about that. That is totally going to be individual to each person. My daughter over there, Hayden, is not really an animal person. She likes cats, but you can't make a living breeding cats, I don't think. Otherwise, we'd have a kitty cat farm. They're so cute. She doesn't like animals, so she works in the office. And growing up, she played very competitive basketball, so she didn't have time because, they were training. Oh, gosh, it was like 8 months of the year.
I quit by the time you were milking cows, though.
Yeah. No, because I milked, and then I scheduled milking around her basketball games. So she didn't have time to, and she wasn't a big animal person, so it wasn't worth the fight for me to say, get out there and shovel manure, because it wasn't her thing. Oh, yeah. She was helping with my daughter. who was 3 at the time. So she was in the house, often helping getting dinner ready and watching my 3-year-old while I was out working. My son was, he's gone now, he's in the military, but when he was home, he would come out to the barn when I was milking and help clean the equipment. And, you know, the whole pay thing, my kids they have chores they have to do and they don't get paid for those chores, but then there are projects they get paid for. But that's going to be totally individual to you. Like my 10-year-old now, she has chores she has to do, and she's very helpful and she enjoys it. But if it's a big fight for me to get her to do something, it's not worth the fight. So I try to find out with my kids and my employees what it is they like best, and then make sure they're doing that, you know, they have ample time to do that. And then if my daughter has to do something she doesn't like, it's kind of age appropriate. You know, maybe she has to do that for 15 minutes or something. I wouldn't make her milk cows for 3 hours if she hated it. It's just not worth the fight. And plus, that's a job I don't want them to make a mistake at. Dusty asks, do you ever have a problem finding good and reliable people to hire? Yes, you have to pay them well, and you can't pay them minimum wage. So if you're having a problem finding people, even getting them to respond to an ad or something, you may have to increase the amount of money you're offering, because farming is hard work. When you can go get a job making coffees, you know, making little fancy things on top of a latte for more money than you're offering someone to shovel manure, why would they do that? You know, you're asking someone to do a very unattractive job, so you may have to just pay more money. Any tips on finding intermittent help, such as a weekend here and there? Yeah, again, intermittent help, usually that I've found that the best way, because your intermittent help, you can hire them now to do a weekend here and there, and then next time you need them for a weekend, they're gone. So I have found that the only way for me to have a sustainable farm, which includes employees, is to find reliable help and offer them a job, a part-time job. So I have a person who works for me 5 days a week. One of them works 3 days a week. One of them works 2 days a week. So even if it's part-time, it's a consistent 2 days a week every day. I have no idea how you would find someone who would let you take a weekend every 3 months, you know, because everyone's life changes so quickly that you get them to commit to that, and then 3 months from now they're like, oh, well, sorry, we're in a basketball tournament that weekend, we can't do it. So the most sustainable thing for me has been to find employees and work, because I have a Saturday, Sunday person who works Saturday, Sunday, and then she works 2 days a week at another job. And I have them all the time. So I know I always have that Saturday, Sunday person there. Farm sitters, it's hard to find, and you got to pay them too. Someone's only going to babysit your farm once for no pay, usually, because it's a lot of work. So any other questions? I've covered a lot here. I think setting really firm, strong boundaries, say no more than you say yes, increase your prices so you can afford to hire help, so you can get time off away from the farm. Make a really strict schedule for yourself and adhere to it, but know that way, if you have that schedule, if you have that 5 to 6 a.m. hour like I do, then you know when an emergency happens at 10 a.m., it's okay, because everything else will happen during the day. You're welcome, Ashley. Is that it? Did I cover everything? Okay, you guys, tomorrow's New Year's Eve. Sunday's New Year's. So happy New Year, everyone. And remember, if you aren't signed up to get our emails, we're starting a 3-part series next week where we go really deep into jumpstarting your marketing as we lead up to releasing our course again in a month. We will start teaching the course on February 1st. So we're going to get you set up with some foundational stuff starting next week. So make sure, if you're not signed up at 3cowmarketing.com for emails, you'll want to get them. We just created the videos yesterday, the training videos. It's going to be great. Even if you've taken the course, you will learn something from the videos, because I learned something just creating the videos. Thanks, Laura. Happy New Year. Thank you, Dusty. I'm glad you guys appreciate this. I'll see you next week for another live video, and Happy New Year. Bye-bye.